Uh, I mean, from one bleak thing to the next. Here we go. Okay. There's actually a good, oh no, did it come in? Oh, yeah. Okay. I don't know. How do you want to get started on this one? Because it's just awful and nothing's gotten better since last week when we nuked a town with chemicals. And I mean, I'm sure everybody understands that what happened was the train crashed. They call it a train bomb because of what it was carrying on it, the toxic chemicals. And instead of stopping down everything and trying to remove the crash and the train and the parts, which would have taken a long time to do with care so that you don't gas your own, city, your country, your people, they blew it up because that way it would clear the way so that the rest of the trains that need to deliver toxic chemicals around the country could have, a clear space to run through the track. So that's how that happened. And now we have people, I mean, I think maybe one way to look at it is the amount of jockeying for like the two different teams, Democrats versus Republicans, and no one wanting to take responsibility and everyone trying to blame people for whom they voted for, and for a president who was president 3 years ago and some of the regulations he put into place that still haven't been overturned by our current president.
Well, we're in this place where obviously they thought this would get no attention. And I want to say this is the power, at least of Twitter as we know it. Like, I mean, literally this wouldn't have gotten attention were it not for people on Twitter and social media fighting to get this attention.
The Lever The Lever did some amazing reporting and also Status Quo.
Absolutely.
That's kind of
absolutely.
I mean, yeah, that is it.
I mean,
nobody
this
did anything for 2 weeks.
Was ignored by the press for almost a week. At least, at least a week. They ran a story, but it wasn't, a real news story starts the hour.
Yeah.
And at least you get to it by the end of the hour. But every hour on CNN, if there's something critical, they're going to cover it. And they didn't cover it for 10 days almost.
Yeah.
Biden didn't say anything about it for almost 2 weeks.
Yep.
And so they didn't think this was going to be a story. They didn't think the chemical stuff would even be an issue to them. They just wanted it to go away as fast as possible.
Right.
So allowed the chemicals.
Allowed the Norfolk Southern to do its own testing, because that always works well when a company regulates itself and say that the water was safe and the air was safe. And then started all the blame that it was actually because of, and Republicans always do this. I mean, Republicans are disgusting. I am not a fan of Republicans. But the deregulation and the allowing for a different kind of, they turn back the higher standard on brakes that should have been in place that would have been helpful.
But it was brakes, and it was also that the chemical companies lobbied to not have these certain chemicals be classified as needing,
and that was under Obama.
As needing to have
the classification
these protections because they're so dangerous. So without that classification, you didn't need to have the protections on the train. It wasn't that big of a deal. And so that all happened under Obama. I mean, granted, Obama was the one trying to put this rule in place, so it wasn't bad that Obama, I don't blame Obama for this.
No, wait, you have to blame Obama for it, because the chemical classification that happened under Obama when he was lobbied by the companies.
Okay, I blame Obama.
Sorry, yeah, sorry. I just want to
edit that out.
Yes, I blame Obama for that for sure. He was the one who put the brakes regulation into place. Trump overturned it. And then I know this is crazy for so many of the libs out there, but we have had a different president for 2 years now who, if it mattered one iota to him, could have changed that regulation back to what the safer brakes would have been, could have not broken a strike, which is one of the most appalling. I mean, I don't know. There's so many things to add to the list. Starting World War III, breaking a strike. Here's Pete Buttigieg with the CEO and president of Norfolk Southern.
They're pals.
That's buds.
So you got CNN, this guy, he's a Trumper. He's been on there forever. He's always on CNN. But I watch him all the time. I know a lot about him. I didn't know he's a lobbyist for Norfolk Southern. And they didn't disclose that at all when they have him going, speaking about these issues on TV.
Why is he even on? Like, what's he an expert on? Just corruption.
He's
corruption.
He's sort of one of those, I kind of don't support the Trumpy stuff anymore.
Yeah, never
rational
Trump Republican.
If you're a rational Republican,
yeah,
so he'll be a DeSantis guy soon,
oh, God.
But yeah, so they got a lot of PR out there now because we did call attention to this. We did point out that Buttigieg has been the transportation secretary, and he was warned about all these things. People have been on him before this accident
and he pushed for breaking the strike laws. Yeah.
He's a strike buster, as is Biden, which is why they wanted to bury this story even more, because it points out all the flaws within the Democratic Party. The union stuff is bullshit. The safety stuff is bullshit. They're just as neoliberal as the right is. So, but so all the criticism that they're writing these articles like, oh, he's mad at the GOP attacks. Well, no, the attacks are not coming from the right. The attacks are coming from the left. Yeah. The valid attacks are coming from progressives.
And yet there is still a group of Democratic loyalists who want to blame the people who live in that city of East Palestine for their being poisoned by this exploding train of chemical cancer.
I think we should show the Joy clip because
sorry, I know I hate to do it to you guys, but it's more of the view, because if you didn't vomit in your mouth enough before when the Lecce Biden was talking about his nurse, we got another clip for you. It's shorter though, so you drink up.
Lay down regulations for a second, because it seems to me that the Republicans are obsessed with this notion of the free market, and they don't like a lot of regulations.
Because it means profit. When you deregulate, you get profit.
But I know.
Part of deregulation,
for example, there were very few plane crashes, thank God. And that's because the industry is highly regulated. We have to pay for regulations and safety standards. Otherwise, where are we? We're all going to go up in flames.
Norfolk Southern gives as much to Democrats as Republicans. It's a very powerful lobby that is trying to block regulation. And this train, to Sarah's point, 2 miles long with 2 full-time employees and a trainee on it.
And they didn't even need to, because the last administration rolled it down to only one worker. They happened to have 2.
One thing I just want to say is I do think this was an unforced error by President Biden. It was 20 days before we had Secretary Buttigieg go down, 10 days before he put out a statement acknowledging it. This is Trump country. He won by 40 points. He is a president for all Americans. I believe that, but he needs to show that he is. But it was time for him to be.
I don't know why they would ever vote for him, for somebody who, by the way, he placed someone with deep ties to the chemical industry in charge of the EPA's Chemical Safety Office. That's who you voted for in that district. Donald Trump, who reduces all safety. He did in those days.
Showed up at McDonald's and those voters saw something on the ground that probably resonates in a way that they need.
But they need to look past the photo ops, these people, and say, who's doing the job here? Forget about the photo op.
Showing up is a big
thing. I think
this is Donald Trump's fault.
I mean, it's so crazy because pretty much Biden is part of that whole revolving door also. I think, oh God, now I'm going to get everything wrong because I forgot about that last part of the clip where he says like who he puts in charge of the regulating body. And we have like 6 of those. I mean, I think we have like, people from the board of Pfizer are now working at the CDC. I mean, like they're constantly doing this revolving door of the people who have been CEOs at these huge companies that demand, deregulation are then put in charge of the committee that works to regulate those companies. And then after they've done their work, they go right back to the, companies where they profit from having spent time in government, where they helped deregulate. Biden does plenty of that also, but to blame people for voting for Trump. I mean, first of all, it's just such a disgusting way to look at people. And we saw that during the beginning of the pandemic, right? Like anybody in a red state who didn't want the vaccination
should have voted for Biden.
Die. Yeah.
If you died of COVID, you should have voted for Biden.
But so what does that mean about everybody who voted for Biden? I mean, honestly, if liberals want that treatment, you wanted World War III, you wanted more drilling on Arctic lands, you wanted the let it rip strategy, you want more migrants in cages, more deportations, you voted for all of that. So good job, fellas.
And I mean, just to stick to the specific issue of the EPA, Biden's EPA is saying the water is safe to drink, but they haven't even tested for real dangerous things. I mean,
new lawsuit says Norfolk Rail's outrageous decision to detonate 1 million tons of cancer-causing vinyl chloride in Ohio created a new chemical warfare gas so deadly it is outlawed by the Geneva Convention. Biden's EPA has not tested for this new gas.
Yeah. And as far as the unforced error, I mean, that's the one part they actually got right. Like Democrats, Trump told them a week before he went out there that he was going to come out there on a Wednesday. He gave them the actual day, I'm going to show up in your city, and nobody showed up. And Pete came days later.
2 days later, he put on a hard hat, walked around like, hello, fellow kids, like that kind of deal. Like he put on his little uniform and jetted out of there doing nothing. And that's exactly right, Hiko. Blame it all on Trump, but won't blame it on the system that allows multi-billion dollars to a corrupt corporation. We're losing badly here. We are. And also, Pat owes you a shot glass. He'll be sending it to you soon.
I have been slacking on sending the shot glass
on camera right now.
Block Kiko from all comments. No more comments from Kiko. Shut him off.
All right, but then we've got Nina Turner coming on MSNBC. I can't believe they let her on, but I'm grateful for it. But here she is.
Nina Turner, you are a daughter of Ohio. I know you've been to East Palestine.
Yes.
Do you think that the administration is doing enough?
No. The state administration is not doing enough. I'm not pleased with Governor Mike DeWine, who actually drunk some of the water, giving people confidence that that water is okay, when in fact that EPA didn't do the deepest dive that they can do to deal with the carcinogens that are there, the air, the water. No, and when I went there, then I saw both fear and anger in the eyes of the people there. I had a local guide. His name is John. He grew up in and around that area, and also Jess. And I got a chance to talk to some of the people. And one lady that I talked to, she said, I never want to see another vehicle carrying chemicals come through my community again. And so while you have some on the GOP side saying less government, you have the residents of East Palestine saying that government is not doing enough. And they have been, not just them, they have been failed by subsequent many administrations. It's not just the Trump administration, it was the Obama administration, now it's the Biden administration. So now we have the facts, they're out there. The NTSB said this could have been avoided. The thing is, what are we going to do to solve the short-term and the long-term needs of the people? And then just one more point. For the neoliberals who say that the residents of that area deserve what they are getting because they voted for President Donald J. Trump, it is abhorrent. This is about poverty. This is about poor working class white people who are enduring some of the same things that poor working class black people endure, whether it's Flint, Cleveland, or Jackson, Mississippi. And so I want to lay it out that the cultist behavior in politics right now, it is a sin and a shame that when people are suffering to this magnitude, you got people who will fix their mouths, to quote my grandmother, to say that they are getting what they deserve. What they deserve is clean air, clean food, clean water. They deserve relief, both in the short term and also in the long term.
Well said.
Amen.
Yep, it's up to the working class, the only revolutionary social force, to shut down this criminal BS, because I agree, it is certainly not happening in government. All right, I feel like we should we move on? I mean, it's so sad. Like they're not doing anything, but I don't think we have much of an update, except I think there were 3 or 4 more train derailments since that one on February 3rd. The latest one was down in Sarasota, Florida, which is where my mother-in-law lives. And they're saying everything's fine. But again, it was like,
And apparently there are like 1,000 a year, a lot of chemical spills every year.
Which
in no way is this, I mean, this is more dramatic because it got attention mostly. I mean, the fireball and the smoke cloud of chemicals when they burned it drew attention to it. But if it just was casually polluting people without that cloud, nobody would know. The city would get cancer. And the photo op of drinking the water is just so ridiculous. Like, I could drink a shot of this bourbon here. It's poison. Bourbon is poison. But if I drank that every fucking day, it's going to kill me. I mean, drinking a lot
Yeah.
every day.
But also, I mean, in that clip where they were drinking the water, I mean, who knows? But you could see in the bottom left, there was a smart water, like you could see the label of a smart water bottle. So you don't even know if they were actually drinking the water, right? I mean, it's all like, it's show business.
It's theatrics and it shouldn't be allowed. And when you see it, you should call it out as bullshit, because there are people that actually see that little thing and go, okay, great, fine. But most people in the city are not saying that. They're going to see, what are they seeing? They're seeing that Trump showed up. They're seeing that Pete showed up after Trump. Biden never showed up.
Trump showed up. He passed out water, McDonald's, and blankets. And then there's footage of people walking around in their Trump blankets with water. And of course, they're going to feel like they're in a horrific situation right now. One person showed up. He's gross. Like, I can't stand him. But why don't we have anybody from the Biden administration showing up on the ground, talking about it, talking about what they're going to do, saying, hey, we made a mistake. We should have listened to the railway workers. They were right. They were sounding the alarm. We need more than one conductor on the train. We need more workers. We need to give them more time off. We need to invest the money that these railroad companies are making into maintaining the infrastructure that they use to cart their toxic chemicals around our nation while they are padding their pockets. That money has to go back. Like, there's a way to solve it.
So Pete is already on TV trying to come across as a guy who, if we have more Democrats, will be able to fight the cartel, the railroad cartel. And, you know, you've got these pictures of him. He's chumming it up with these guys. It's all nonsense. He had ample opportunity to put something in place. They have no intention of putting anything in place. They know they can't pass a lot of things through Congress to regulate the industry more, and they love that they can't pass anything through Congress.
Oh yeah, Pete's already
because
said,
they're taking all this money from the industry.
Right, and he already said that he didn't have power to regulate when he's in fact the only person who could, just by edict, like he could just do it. He could bypass Congress. But he says he wants to send it back to Congress for them to do the work. I do think, I mean, it's hard for me to know. I'm in my own bubble, obviously, but it's so outrageous and it's so bipartisan. And I think the cover up is so glaringly obvious that they were trying to, shun their own responsibility. I mean, I have to think this resonate somehow, although I thought that Roe v. Wade being overturned when we could have codified it over the past 50 years would have been something to wake people up to the the pretend antics of the Democratic Party. I mean, I don't know what it's going to take, but people are dying.
Yeah, well, to normie Democrats, the out to them is Trump regulated this. Trump, it was Trump. Right. But what they don't see is they don't see that Biden didn't go there. They don't see that. They'll defend it to the death. They'll say, well, it's a photo op when you go there. So, we didn't want to do a photo op. He's a responsible guy. You know? But what they're missing is that this one issue could be leveraged by Trump. This one single thing could become a huge part of the campaign that happens in 2024. That he showed up, he can point out Obama deregulated, let the plastics through, whatever. All these things really, they're like Democrats are looking at it from their own privileged perspective, not people living there. And it's a swing state. So say Ohio goes red now. You lost a swing state.
Yep. I think they've already written it off. I think that's part of it. I mean, Trump, remember when he didn't want to give money to California because we didn't vote for him in 2016. So when there were all the wildfires, he basically wanted to punish California for that. And that was appalling and disgusting. And that's not the way the president of the United States should ever behave. And Biden's basically doing the same thing. I think if that had happened in California or New York, it might be a different situation. I don't know. I mean, he's, it's not like he's actually helping anybody in any state anyway, but I think there would have been a bigger show maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, but if you're Trump, I mean, I hate to point to Twitter so much, but if you're Trump, I mean, you got Biden on Twitter saying Trump should resign because of 200,000 deaths from COVID.
Right.
And then Biden oversees 1 million deaths from COVID. So Trump can literally make the argument that he handled COVID better, which, I mean, not really accurate, but I mean, if
He
you know
definitely
that
did
was
it worse.
but if you know that that's what got Biden elected,
right.
You've
neutralized your one
his
point.
Strength,
Yes.
The thing that got him in there.
Yeah.
So all these things mean a Republican's going to win in 2024.
Yeah. Just like with all of the documents that he shouldn't have taken, right? Like that was another thing that we thought that having classified documents might be the thing. TikTok, Trump's going down, and then Biden has it. I mean, the sexual harassment stuff. I mean, each failure on the part of Democrats and each point of corruption on the part of Democrats just goes against making the case that, like, I don't even know what it matters if a Democrat wins.
All these issues are where progressives have an opportunity, progressive politicians have an opportunity to contrast themselves as the responsible party that would have avoided this thing in Ohio. They would have avoided, they would have handled the COVID better. They would have done, but instead they're going, Biden's pretty good.
I'm not going to, we won't challenge. We'll all stand in line. Yeah. And the other thing is, if you want to show Trump voters or people who are in favor of less government or whatever, why they should vote for Democrats or progressives, you show up, you show them the policies you're fighting for, you show them why they should support government in the model that you are trying to construct. That's what you do. You don't just ignore it and leave a vacuum for some clown reality TV show host to show up and throw a roll of paper towels and a Big Mac at people.
I mean, it's not just a vacuum. He literally said, I'll be there next Wednesday. You have 1 week, and no one beat him to it.
They're like, enjoy your flight. Enjoy.
Have fun. They're like, oh, this is going to backfire because he deregulated. No, you dumb fucks. I mean, he can tell a story entirely different than the truth. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He was there first. That matters to his people and to people there.
And I mean, that is a town that had already voted for him. They were hurt by NAFTA. They were hurt by trade policies that we had. All right.
So why weren't any progressives there? That's what I want to know. Why were no progressives there?
Hey, where was Chantel Brown, by the way, the big progressive that the CPC came out in favor of over Nina Turner? She's from Ohio. Why didn't she show up and hand out some Big Macs or do anything? Literally anything.
Did you see Stacey Abrams was in Africa for fair elections? True story.
By the way, isn't she like a huge Bloomberg supporter? She will save us. Democracy is on the ballot.